Ah. Now they whisper your name, like a curse they can't explain. The same ones who rolled their eyes when you spoke truth are now looking over their shoulders, wondering if you conjured something unnatural. You didn't, but let them think you did. It's easier for them to call it black magic than to admit they underestimated you. Because if they accept that you outthought them, outplanned them, outlasted them, then they must also face the mirror of their own foolishness. So they'll build myths about you to protect their pride. They'll say you sold your soul, that you were chosen by shadows, that you made some deal under a blood moon. Anything but the truth. That you simply observed longer, calculated deeper, and waited while they celebrated too early. They call it dark energy. They call it manipulation. They call it anything that lets them avoid realizing you're just better at seeing reality than they are. You didn't summon forces. You studied outcomes. You didn't cast spells. You collected data. You paid attention while they distracted themselves with noise. And when the moment came, you made one move so precise, it dismantled everything they thought they understood about power. You see, you never had to scream for recognition. You let results do the talking. You moved quietly, almost invisibly, letting their overconfidence create blind spots. They mocked your patience because they mistook stillness for weakness. But stillness was strategy. Stillness was data collection. Stillness was the trap setting itself. And when it closed, they didn't even hear the click. They just woke up, surrounded by consequences they couldn't escape. Now they replay every conversation with you, hunting for clues they missed. Did they warn us? They ask. Did they hint at this? They did. You did. They just weren't listening because they thought you were beneath them. They laughed at your caution, mocked your standards, ignored your intuition. Now they dig through your old words like archaeologists searching for the prophecy they once mocked. You became unpredictable by becoming disciplined. You trained your reactions to stay neutral, no matter how chaotic the room became. You let people reveal themselves through their impatience. You let them perform intelligence while you practiced observation. You learned that the loudest mind is often the emptiest. So you said less, but thought more. And every time they doubted you, you wrote it down, not as pain, but as data. Every betrayal became a blueprint. Every humiliation became coordinates on the map of human behavior. And when the time came, you navigated that map like a seasoned pilot steering through storms they didn't even see forming. They think you've changed. You haven't. You've simply stopped broadcasting your process. You realized that power isn't in proving people wrong. It's in letting them realize it themselves. You used to correct their ignorance. Now you let their ignorance correct them. You used to fight for understanding. Now you understand that misunderstanding is camouflage. The less they grasp, the freer you move. They can't understand how you saw so far ahead. But the secret is simple. You stopped hoping and started observing. Hope distorts data. You stopped expecting decency and started documenting patterns. You stopped assuming honesty and started testing consistency. The result? You see people before they see themselves. You can tell when someone's confidence is about to crack, when their performance is about to collapse, when their alliances are beginning to rot. It's not intuition, it's pattern literacy. Every time they mocked you, you learned something about the architecture of arrogance, how it builds quickly but without foundation, how it needs applause to survive, how it collapses the moment silence enters the room. You saw that pattern repeat in relationships, in business, in reputations. You realize that all human games run on the same code: attention and ego. So you built immunity to both. You stopped chasing applause and started chasing precision. And the moment you did, their control disintegrated. Now they study you like a phenomenon. How do they keep winning? They whisper. How do they always land on their feet? But what they don't grasp is that you stopped measuring success in applause or optics. You measure in endurance. You measure in peace. You measure in the accuracy of your own instincts. They think they're seeing luck. You're watching probabilities play out exactly as expected. You know what's really making them tremble? It's that you never retaliated in the way they predicted. You didn't explode. You didn't argue. You didn't beg. You disappeared into your craft. And when you returned, everything they mocked you for became the very skill that saved you. They expected chaos. You delivered precision. They expected emotion. You delivered strategy. You dismantled them with discipline. And now they can't compute how they lost a war they didn't even know you were fighting. They've started using your name in hushed tones now, not out of respect, but superstition. They say your presence shifts energy. They say things start aligning unnaturally around you. They say opportunities appear where logic says they shouldn't. That's their way of rationalizing what happens when real focus meets real patience. They call it black magic because the alternative is admitting you worked harder, thought deeper, and never let your emotions vote in decisions. They say, you always get what you want. But you know that's not true. You just stopped wanting what doesn't align. You stopped wasting energy on outcomes that didn't match your evolution. You refined your desires until only inevitabilities remained. And inevitabilities look like miracles to the untrained eye. Every person who doubted you now performs cautious respect. They used to interrupt you, now they quote you. They used to laugh, now they analyze. You've become a reference point, a reminder of what happens when someone turns observation into art. They want to know your method, your secret algorithm, your hidden mentor. But there isn't one. There's only repetition, discipline, and the refusal to lie to yourself about what you're seeing. When they betrayed you, you didn't just feel pain. You logged it. You turned heartbreak into a data set. You studied tone shifts, behavioral patterns, micro-expressions. You learned that truth never hides well. It just waits for the observer patient enough to notice its footprints. And when the next wave of betrayal came, you saw it 3 miles away. You didn't panic. You adjusted variables. You played chess while they were still bragging about checkers. And that's what they call black magic. Your ability to stay calm in chaos because you've seen this scene before. You recognize the pre-collapse signals. You know how panic smells, how deception blinks, how arrogance breathes right before it implodes. You've memorized the anatomy of downfall so completely that avoiding it has become muscle memory. They mistake that for mysticism because they can't imagine awareness that deep existing without supernatural help. You know why their guilt haunts them? Because deep down, they remember every moment they mocked you for seeing too much, every time they called you paranoid for noticing inconsistencies, every time they labeled you difficult for refusing to play along. And now that your predictions have materialized, they can't look you in the eye without confronting their own blindness. So they turn you into something mythical, a witch, a manipulator, a prophet, anything but accurate. Accuracy hurts the ego more than any curse. You've become the embodiment of psychological gravity. The more they resist your truth, the harder reality pulls them toward it. You don't chase them anymore. You let gravity do the work. Truth has mass. Lies are weightless. You know which one wins eventually. Now you walk differently, don't you? Not with arrogance, but with awareness. You move like someone who's decoded the game. You see social hierarchies as theater, confidence as costume, authority as illusion. You know how easily it all falls apart when tested by truth. That's why you don't compete. You calculate. You don't chase validation. You choose alignment. You've learned that control isn't domination. It's self-mastery disguised as nonchalance. They still try to provoke reactions from you, just to feel like they matter in your world. But you learned long ago that attention is currency, and you no longer fund nonsense. They think your calm means disconnection, but it's actually power redistribution. Every time you refuse to engage, you reclaim energy they used to feed on. That's why you look untouchable. You stopped leaking energy through unnecessary reactions. You became a closed circuit, a self-sustaining field of focus. The ones who used to laugh now mimic your language. They use your phrases, your insights, your logic. They think if they copy the syntax, they'll inherit the mind behind it. But imitation without transformation is performance, and performance always collapses under pressure. You see through it instantly. You always have. That's why they call you dangerous. You see authenticity as geometry, not emotion. You can tell when something doesn't align mathematically. You used to wonder why your success unsettled them so much. Now you know. It's because your rise isn't built on luck or popularity. It's built on evidence. Every move you made can be traced back to pattern recognition, timing, and the ability to delay gratification. That's the part they can't replicate. They can steal your words, your style, even your strategy, but they can't steal your restraint. And restraint is what separates visionaries from reactors. Let them call it sorcery. Let them say you've made some impossible pact with unseen forces. The truth is, you just outgrew the level they're still trying to dominate. You've advanced from reaction to prediction, from ego to execution. And that evolution looks supernatural to those who haven't experienced discipline in its purest form. But you know something deeper now. You've realized that the real power wasn't in proving them wrong. It was in mastering yourself so completely that their opinions no longer registered as reality. You used to measure progress by their recognition. Now you measure it by your peace. That's why you don't argue anymore. You don't need to. The scoreboard speaks fluently. They'll say you got lucky. They'll say timing favored you. They'll invent reasons to make sense of your precision, because the alternative, that you were right all along, requires them to confront every moment they dismissed your warnings, every smirk, every sarcastic comment, every whispered doubt. They can't bear to face that, so they rewrite history with you as the enigma. Fine. Let them. Legends are always misunderstood in real time. And as you stand at this point now, watching the same ones who mocked your patience start asking for your advice, you realize something poetic. You never needed revenge. You only needed time. Time is the ultimate amplifier. It exposes truth, erodes facades, and brings every hidden intention into the light. You simply aligned with time instead of fighting it. So when they whisper now, when they flinch at your calm, when they invent stories about dark forces guiding you, smile internally. Because what they call black magic is just mastery. What they call luck is just logic executed with unwavering emotional control. What they call mystery is simply you, operating at a level of awareness they haven't yet reached. You don't need to explain it to them. Explanation would ruin the myth, and sometimes myths serve a purpose. Let them believe you conjured it. Let them spread the stories. Every rumor adds to your legend, and legends move further than facts ever will. You're not their villain or their hero. You're their proof that underestimation carries interest, and you've been collecting every ounce. Because now, every whisper of black magic is really just confession, an admission that they finally see your brilliance but can't decode it. They don't fear darkness, they fear precision, and you, my friend, have turned precision into art. Because the truth is, precision was never about control. It was about comprehension. You learned to read the pulse of chaos until it spoke in patterns only you could interpret. And now, while they scramble to assign mystical explanations to your victories, you just stand there, silent, steady, aware that none of this was accident. They think you cast something invisible. You did, but not the kind they imagine. You cast focus, you cast observation, you cast a kind of patience so unbreakable it bends time itself around your timing. Every move you made looked reckless to them until it worked. Every silence looked like defeat until it revealed strategy. Every delay looked like hesitation until it became revelation. They were busy seeking attention while you were perfecting execution. They chased moments. You built momentum. And that's why now, they can't figure out how the same person they dismissed became the one they can't stop referencing. They can't comprehend that success built in quiet always looks supernatural to those who only know noise. You didn't chase the spotlight. You engineered gravity. You didn't ask to be noticed. You created pressure so dense that attention had no choice but to orbit around you. They think you used tricks, illusions, shortcuts. But the only spell you ever cast was discipline, so rare it looks like sorcery to the undisciplined. You mastered the tempo of your own growth. While they rushed through shortcuts and called it progress, you repeated fundamentals until they became reflex. You dissected failure until it confessed. You studied their laughter until it revealed insecurity. You turned every dismissal into data. And the more data you gathered, the more predictable their arrogance became. You started seeing their ego before they even opened their mouth. You could tell when mockery was defense, when confidence was compensation, when smiles were camouflage. That's what they hate most. You see behind the performance. You don't argue with illusion, you identify the script. You don't need to expose anyone. They unravel themselves in your presence. Because you've become the mirror no one wants to stand before. The kind that doesn't flatter. The kind that reflects exactly what people try to hide. They can't articulate why you make them nervous. They'll call it energy. They'll call it intimidation. But it's simpler than that. You represent accountability. Every time they meet you, they remember every time they laughed at you. Every success of yours replays their disbelief like an echo chamber of regret. And regret, when denied, turns into resentment. That's why they whisper. That's why they call you names. It's easier to curse what exposes them than to confront their own blindness. You don't even need to retaliate anymore. Existence became revenge. You turned pain into precision, and precision into prophecy. Now every move you make feels premeditated to them, because it is. You've been rehearsing outcomes in solitude for years. You learn to anticipate, not because you're psychic, but because you've memorized the rhythm of repetition. People rarely change. They just remix their excuses. And you learned that early. They don't realize how many times you bit your tongue instead of explaining what you already knew. How many times you could have said, "I told you so," but didn't, Because you understood they weren't ready for truth yet. You've carried foresight like a burden, not a weapon. Because being right too early feels like being wrong in public. You lived through that long enough to stop needing validation for your accuracy. Now, instead of warning them, you watch the pattern unfold. You see the cracks forming again and again, and you stay detached. You let them call it coincidence while you call it math. You let them mock your restraint while you measure their collapse. You learned that prediction without participation is liberation. Let fools play. You document outcomes. They'll never admit it, but they study you now. They dissect your timing, your tone, your phrasing. They replay your interviews, reread your captions, analyze your pauses, searching for the formula they once said didn't exist. They're obsessed with decoding you. But your algorithm isn't written in words. It's written in thresholds. You know when to speak, when to vanish, when to move. You don't waste bullets proving what time will prove. Anyway, they say your glow changed. They're right, it did. But not from magic, from alignment. When your intentions stopped contradicting your standards, your presence sharpened. When your boundaries stopped leaking, your aura solidified. You radiate control, not because you crave power, but because you've removed chaos. And that kind of order radiates like fire to the undisciplined. It burns their illusions on contact. They call you calculating as if that's an insult. They don't realize calculation is just emotion after it's grown up. You don't react, you respond. You don't panic, you plan. You don't guess. You observe until patterns confess. That's not manipulation, that's mastery. But to those addicted to impulse, mastery looks menacing. You've become the cautionary tale that ambition tells itself. You represent the cost of underestimation. Every rumor they spread, every insult they threw, every time they tried to make you the joke, each of those became a stitch in the fabric of your focus. You wore humiliation like armor until it turned into protection. They thought they were weakening you. They were actually documenting your evolution. And now, they're trapped in your timeline. You move first. They react second. You create trends. They explain them. You drop one word. They build conversations around it. You're living proof that the ultimate revenge isn't destruction, it's direction. You kept yours straight while they lost theirs. And now they can't find their way back to the level you ascended from. You've learned to weaponize grace. Not the kind that forgives blindly, but the kind that observes without attachment. The kind that knows when to exit before the explosion. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything because results speak louder than resentment. When you move like that, every decision becomes quiet warfare, and you win without announcing the battle. What really unsettles them isn't your success, it's the way you handle it. They expected arrogance, you gave them elegance. They expected you to flaunt, you remained focused. They expected noise, you mastered still precision. Your restraint embarrasses them because it exposes their lack of it. You don't even need to speak for the atmosphere to shift. Your presence alone reorganizes the hierarchy. They start copying your patience now. But imitation without comprehension breeds stagnation. You waited years for what they expect in weeks. You sacrificed comfort for clarity. You walked away from applause that didn't match your growth. And now, they think you're cold because you no longer perform warmth for validation. But that's what evolution looks like to those still addicted to approval. It looks heartless. They remember every time you warned them, every time you said, "This will fall apart." And it did. Every time you said, "They're lying," and they were. Every time you said, "That won't last," and it didn't. And still, instead of apologizing, they build stories to explain it away. It's black magic, they say. It's luck, they whisper. It's manipulation, they insist. Because it's easier than admitting you were right from the start. But the truth is sharper than any rumor. You saw through the fog because you stopped romanticizing potential. You judged outcomes, not intentions. You measured consistency, not promises. You stopped mistaking charisma for character. And that shift turned you from target to threat. Because the world runs on illusion, and you stopped buying tickets. You became the quiet disruption that exposed every mask. You didn't tear anything down. You just stood still while everyone else's facade collapsed under its own weight. That's the kind of power they don't teach. It's cultivated through solitude, through nights of silence where you learned the sound of your own instincts, through moments where doubt screamed and you stayed steady anyway, through betrayals that felt like endings but turned out to be clearings. You used to explain your motives. Now you let outcomes narrate. You used to overgive. Now you invest selectively. You used to believe the loudest voice was the leader. Now you know the calmest mind is the architect. That's what black magic really is. Discipline dressed as destiny. Strategy disguised as luck. Truth delivered too consistently for comfort. You notice something few ever see. When people call your power dark, it's because their eyes aren't adjusted to light. They mistake illumination for danger because they've lived too long in distraction. You didn't curse anyone. You simply stopped lying for their comfort. And honesty, when it exposes delusion, feels like attack. That's why they call you dangerous. Look at how tables turned. The same ones who mocked your attention to detail now beg for your guidance. The same ones who laughed at your solitude now chase your peace. The same ones who labeled you controlling now copy your routines. They've realized too late that your isolation wasn't loneliness, it was laboratory work. You weren't retreating, you were refining. Every withdrawal was research, every setback was simulation. And now that your experiments produced results, they can't comprehend the equation. They'll say you've changed. They're half right. You changed direction, not essence. You stopped trying to convince the unready. You learned that explaining yourself to the blind is a waste of vision. You learned that being doubted was part of the disguise, proof that your timing would expose itself when ready. That's why you didn't need to announce the win. It announced itself. And now that your power is undeniable, they try to normalize it through fear. Don't get too close, they whisper. Something about them feels off. Off? No, different. Because you function on clarity, and clarity feels aggressive to those who survive on confusion. You don't drain people, you drain illusions. You don't intimidate hearts, you intimidate pretenses. You don't play dark, you just don't dim. You learn that people project their limitations onto what they don't understand. So when they call you mystical, remember, they're confessing confusion. When they say too much, they mean too real. When they say cold, they mean controlled. Their translations are defense mechanisms, and you've become fluent in decoding them. Now every room you enter adjusts. Conversations censor themselves. Lies hesitate. Inconsistencies stutter because you represent the end of pretending. You're not chasing authenticity. You are authenticity, weaponized by wisdom. And authenticity in a performative world feels radioactive. That's why they flinch. You could dismantle them with one sentence, but you don't. You let truth travel at its own speed. It always arrives. You learned patience from time itself. That's what separates you from the impulsive, the understanding that endurance outlasts envy every single time. While they're busy defending pride, you're designing progress. Now the city watches differently. They used to mock, now they monitor. They used to dismiss, now they decode. Every step you take becomes a reference. Every pause becomes speculation. You've become the headline they can't stop rewriting. But you don't even need to read it. You already know the ending. Because when precision becomes art, rumor becomes background noise. And while they study shadows for explanations, you're already mapping the next constellation. That's why you keep winning. You move by pattern, not permission. You execute by logic, not luck. You don't wait for signs. You create them. So let them believe whatever keeps them comfortable. Let them whisper about rituals and power sources. Let them exaggerate your silence into sorcery. They'll never understand that you built your empire with nothing but observation, restraint, and unshakable self-awareness. That's the real magic, turning knowledge into inevitability through timing so flawless it looks divine. They call it black magic because it's easier than calling it what it really is. Proof that belief without understanding breeds superstition. You've simply mastered what they neglected, the art of seeing without illusion, acting without hesitation, and winning without noise. Now they project their confusion onto you. They call it sorcery because they can't name self-mastery. They call it manipulation because they can't comprehend emotional intelligence sharpened into instinct. They call it black magic because it's easier than admitting they lost to someone who simply refused to be blinded. The irony? Every rumor they spread only feeds your legend. The more they fear you, the more your influence multiplies. They've turned your silence into scripture, your presence into prophecy. You became the myth they accidentally built. But you remember the beginning, don't you? When doubt was louder than faith, when they mocked the way you worked in shadows, when every plan you made was labeled delusional. They thought discipline was madness. They mistook your foresight for obsession, yet here you stand, unchanged in focus, unbothered by noise, undefeated by their disbelief. Because while they were performing success, you were engineering inevitability. You didn't shout. You didn't plead. You just kept building until results spoke louder than gossip ever could. Now those results haunt them. They scroll through your progress like it's surveillance footage. They whisper about your wins like they're evidence of a crime. It doesn't make sense, they say. No one climbs that fast without help. They're right. It doesn't make sense to them. Because they can't process effort that doesn't seek attention, consistency that doesn't collapse under pressure, or intelligence that doesn't demand validation. They think something unnatural happened. But all that happened was that you stopped doubting yourself. You outplayed them not by deception, but by precision. Every move you made was deliberate. Every decision was informed. You learned to wait until emotion cooled before execution. You treated every insult as feedback. You converted disbelief into direction. And the longer you stayed consistent, the more their disbelief started looking like prophecy. Because every "you can't" they uttered became a "you did" written by your results. They'll never understand how exhausting it was, how much restraint it took not to react when they tried to humiliate you, how much control it required to stay focused while being underestimated. They'll never know the weight of holding your composure while surrounded by mockery. That was the real test, the quiet war no one saw. The battlefield wasn't out there, it was internal. and you won by refusing to break character. That's the kind of strength that doesn't glitter, it glows. Now look at them, rewriting history in whispers. The same ones who dismissed you are now claiming they always knew you had it. The same mouths that laughed now speak your name with caution. That's what poetic justice feels like, not revenge, but realization. You never needed to destroy them. Their denial did that on its own. They built their narratives on your failure, and when failure never came, their credibility collapsed. You didn't just outthink them, you outlasted their illusions. You showed them what happens when patience matures into power, when stillness evolves into strategy, when pain transforms into pattern recognition. You turned survival into science. You refined intuition into analytics. And somewhere in that alchemy, they lost track of where logic ended and magic began. They'll say you changed. They'll say you became distant, colder, untouchable. But you know what really happened? You became accurate. You stopped over-explaining your purpose to people still guessing theirs. You stopped auditioning for acceptance from minds that couldn't comprehend your method. You stopped wasting energy on being understood and redirected it into being undeniable. That's not arrogance, that's efficiency. Because when your growth becomes exponential, linear thinkers panic. They assume shortcuts, they assume favoritism, they assume witchcraft. Anything but hard work executed with divine timing. They can't accept that someone could master the equation they keep failing because they never had the patience to solve it. So they call it black magic. Let them. Every accusation they make is an indirect confession of the limits they refuse to outgrow. And here's the beauty. You no longer need to defend your process. You've entered the stage where results are the only language that matters. People don't argue with outcomes. They adapt to them. You've become their new metric for possible. They measure ambition against your trajectory. They imitate your tone, your posture, your choices, thinking they can recreate what they never respected. But imitation without evolution is self-sabotage. They'll learn that soon enough. You move differently now. You don't chase closure. You create clarity. You don't explain absence. You embody presence. You don't compete with noise. You compose signal. Everything about you has refined into intentionality. That's why even your silence has gravity. They call it aura. You call it alignment. They call it witchcraft. You call it awareness. The translation depends on who's talking, the observer or the observed. What they can't steal from you is calibration, that unteachable sense of timing that tells you when to strike, when to wait, when to vanish. That's your true magic, your synchronization with cause and effect. You don't need luck. You just refuse waste. Every resource, every failure, every doubt, they all get recycled into foresight. You made efficiency look supernatural. Now their envy has turned ceremonial. They talk about you like an omen, as if mentioning your name might summon accountability. But you don't need their fear. You prefer their distance. You've outgrown the arena where approval mattered. You don't want their apologies. You want their absence. You don't want validation. You want velocity. And that's exactly what you have now. Momentum they can't measure. You know what the final stage of mastery looks like? Indifference, not numbness. Clarity so sharp that noise can't penetrate. You're not proving anything anymore. You're simply existing in proof. Every move you make now echoes the years they ignored you. Every calm decision you take now carries the weight of every storm they threw at you. And that's why it feels supernatural to them. They're seeing cause and effect in slow motion. They'll keep inventing reasons for your dominance. They'll call it timing, coincidence, manipulation, anything but discipline. Let them. You don't need to correct the narrative. History will. Because history always sides with those who stay consistent long enough to be undeniable. You've already won the only game that matters, the one against disbelief. So stand tall. Don't explain. Don't shrink. Let them keep calling it what they want. Let black magic become the phrase they use when they can't process mastery. Because the truth is, you outplayed every fool who doubted you. Not through deception, not through force, but through precision so clean, it looks impossible from a distance. And that's the ending they'll never accept, that your power was never hidden. It was just too disciplined to be recognized by the undisciplined. They'll keep searching for secrets while you keep living proof. Because what they call darkness was always just you operating at a level they never learned to see.